site, and I am actually going to the grave of Captain James Booth. Captain James Booth was shot by the Shawnee Indians, and this story is going to entail the Coon's Fort. It's a Revolutionary War fort. Captain Booth was the captain of that fort. It was attacked by Indians back in the 1770s. He was shot here where we're heading to, and there was more than just him that was with him. And this field that you see me walking through used to be a cornfield way back then, and they were here hoeing corn when the Indians attacked. And this field right over the edge here where we're walking to is where they were gunned down by the Indians. The landowner is very, very private. They don't let anyone on here, no one at all. In fact, if we didn't know the landowner, we wouldn't have gotten on here. Now the landowner you're going to get to meet, she's a lover of history, and her family goes way back here. Her grandfather, her 4th or 5th great grandfather, is also my grandfather. So we're related, and we're related through Joshua Jones. Joshua Jones was my 4th great grandfather, and I have a video of him, of that detection on my great grandmother's farm, and where Sid Jones, her father, where they lived. And I'll put a link up there, you guys can check that out. And it's in real bad shape. It says Revolutionary Soldier Godfrey Peters buried here. There are a number of Revolutionary War patriots buried here around this monument. And the reason why the landowner doesn't let anyone in here is because people have come in here illegally and stolen the brass plaques. In fact, 2 of the plaques that were on this monument here were found in Ohio. And because we are right on a very busy road, and she's got fencing there and she's got signs here in the field, but people still come in here and they have stolen the plaques off of this monument. She got 2 of the monuments back. This is one of them, and this was Captain James Booth. I'm going to get a photograph of this. This tells the story here. He lies right here at this very spot. This is where he was gunned down, fleeing from the Indians. So this is where he's buried. We're going to walk down here. This is where he was actually gunned down, was right down here on this flat area. According to the plaque, 200 yards from that plaque, from where he is buried right there, is where he was gunned down and Nathaniel were gunned down, which would put it about right in this area here. So the Shawnees, they came around this way. They came around on the creek here. This is Booth's Creek. This creek is named after him. And there was a little community here, and the community, there actually is a community still here named after him. But this is where it happened, right here. He was gunned down here. Nathaniel crossed the creek here. Now, when I was a kid, we'd fish this creek, and we'd look for arrowheads. There's a lot of arrowheads in here. My uncle used to hunt arrowheads here on this creek, and he would pull them out of here by the bushel. He would sell them. Him and a friend of his would sell them when he was a kid, and they would sell them to a collector, and that collection's actually in a museum. So here's Booth's Creek. Let's go down there, see if we can see anything down there, any lead round balls or even any arrowheads. Now, if I brought my metal detector down here, we probably would find some old round balls. It's not that big of a stream, but it was big enough for them to bring kayaks or canoes up. The Indians would bring canoes up this way, and this was a means of travel back to the Monongahela River. And we're not that far from Pittsburgh here, and Pittsburgh was a big hub for French, French and Indian resistance to the British. And these forts, these line of forts were built, in the 1770s, around 74, 75. And I'll post those pictures here in the video of those plaques that talk about those forts. But anyway, those forts, after General Braddock's defeat in Pittsburgh, leading up to the Revolutionary War, when the line of forts got sacked and burned over where I live in the Shenandoah Valley, those forts, the Virginia Assembly did circular forts, which is what General George Washington did not want them to build. He wanted them to build very robust forts. But these forts were built in the 1770s, and this used to be the frontier. This was the frontier. This was the first line of defense between the Indians and the French and the colonists in Virginia. And so we're at the very frontier. The western frontier is right here. There's a couple other Revolutionary War soldiers who are buried nearby. I'm going to go to their plaque, and we'll go take a look at them. Now, the landowner, we're going to meet with her, and she is a curator of 2 museums. So she loves history, and so she's excited to meet you guys. And she said there's a number of patriots buried here around this monument. They wanted to be buried by Captain James Booth. Hannah Cochrane, born Londonderry Township in Ireland, 1713 to 1813, aged 100 years. This is the old Cochrane Cemetery. This is very old. So here is, this was put here by the Daughters American Revolution. Nathaniel Cochrane.
That's, yeah, that's the one that was captured by the Indians over on my farm.
Okay, I'll get a photograph of this, you guys, and I'll post this in the video if you guys want to go ahead and freeze the video at that point, and you can read this. But yeah, so it talks about how he was sold to the English at Niagara Falls, taken to Quebec, Canada, imprisoned till the close of the Revolutionary War, returned to his home right here. That's a huge monument.
It is very large.
See, there was another marker here, and it's gone.
Here's died 1803. This is an old one.
Here, look here. Somebody took a marker off of here. You see?
Yeah.
I'm trying to get those markers replaced on where Captain Booth was killed by the Indians on my farm. But
these are all cautions. Read some of the dates. This is Mary.
All right, you guys, we're going to go to the very old part of the cemetery. Now, here's the shame of it all. This part of the cemetery is all nice and mowed and cleaned and taken care of. The oldest part is over here, and obviously there's no family alive that can maintain this. I can't read it. This is incredible. Look, here's a Confederate right here, Captain Ezekiel Martin. Here's a Confederate. I don't know if you guys can see how many tombstones in here. There's like 50 or 100 of them in here.
That's what I told you. This was the old, yeah. That's what I said. This is all the further you get back over, they get it too, I think.
Well, I see tombstones all in here. These stones here, not any of them. None of them have etchings on them. Yeah, most of them I can't read. Ellen, this is Ellen. Here's Jesse Martin right here.
Yeah, that's the Martins.
Hey, the Martins built Edgar Southern's house.
The big, we're gonna go buy it.
Elizabeth Beaumont, wife of, daughter of, there's no date on there. Yeah, 1809.
Okay.
That's Edgar Southern.
That might be it, that real big one. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
1850 something. That's the
Yeah.
Martin home.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was what we thought about, just
1852.
talking and saying, would you mind if we bought the,
Well, I know them. And I'm trying to.
Martin, Joshua Martin.
He wants to know all about it.
there you go.
Now I know we're related to the Martins here. I have not traced it back far enough. Of course, this isn't all that far back. I mean, we're talking early 1800s, late 1700s.
She married the Martin.
But most of my family, we trace back through the Jones side. Joshua Jones is my patriot ancestor. And I've got my Sons of the American Revolution certificate through him. And she's related to him too. So we're related, and we never even knew it until after we got talking. Look at all of those tombstones through there.
Let's get this. There's a hall.
Yeah, there's still a whole bunch of different names.
Isn't that a
Mary
beautiful old
S.
tombstone?
Oh, they are.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
it's just
beautiful.
amazing.
I mean, look how many tombstones through there.
Yeah.
But we haven't found the best one.
We haven't found the best one.
What's this one?
I'm going to get some photographs. Obviously, I can't take photographs of all these.
That's Jesse.
I'll get some photographs of
Yep, Jesse Martin.
some of them.
We don't mind this at all. It's enjoyable. At some point, we have to go to work, but
Yeah, you can see where they chiseled. They chiseled the stone and dressed it. No names on that. Most of these don't have any names at all. They're just lost to the ages. Yeah, I came by this one.
Amuel. A-M-U-E-L. Is that what that is? Amuel.
James. That's a 1789
It's a
right
Moore.
there.
Samuel. It's Samuel.
It's a Moore.
Let's go over here. I can't read them. It's just gone. Miss Tabitha, wife of Jacob Shaver. Now I know where the Shaver farm is. We're not that far from it. So beautiful. I'm going to take a photograph of that one. Isn't that beautiful? This is beautiful. Alright, you guys, I want you to see this. See this pine tree here? This is a huge pine tree, almost as wide as that entire headstone there.
Yes, they're not nice.
I got one on me there. I got it on.
So Nancy Croston was born in 1869. She was not buried here, and her date of death is not listed. Now over where I live in Virginia, there's some Crostons over there who fought in the Revolutionary War, and I've done videos on that one, that patriot as well. Now it's funny how they took care of this. All this cemetery here is all nice and clean, but the old cemetery back in here is just left to neglect. You know, doing history hunting, this is what I enjoy. This is what I like to do. I like finding these families and then finding where their old pioneer house stood or where they lived, and then going there, featuring them in a video, detecting their house, trying to find something associated with it. And you know, if I can locate the families like Joanne and others that you've seen in my video, to provide them some tangible objects, some tangible evidence of their living there and being there. To me, that I feel that gives metal detecting a purpose. I always tell people I'm not a treasure hunter. I'm not out just to dig treasure, get coins, get buttons, you know. To me, after you get 100 coins, and what's the next 10, next 100? It's meaningless. At some point it gets meaningless. What gives metal detecting, in my opinion, is the history. It's the storytelling. And to me, this is what gets me excited.
Killed in 19. I wonder if he died in the war. 1960. When was the first war?
1917.
Well, it says killed. That's why I wondered.
Yeah, at a mine, Carn Mine.
Mine. Yep.
Pit Carn
My
Mine.
mother was born 1917 today.
Oh.
This is why I'm wearing a black onyx
Oh,
bracelet.
today,
That's in
huh?
memory of, yeah, she would
Of
be
your mother.
106 years old.
your mother?
Yeah, 106 years old today.
Brian's mother and my mother are twin sisters, and our family came in here in the late 1700s. In fact, our patriot and grandfather, who's Joshua Jones, this is where he got his property. He was in the Bucks County Militia in Pennsylvania. He got 400 acres over here. This used to all be Greene County, Pennsylvania, before the Mason-Dixon line was drawn. And once they drew the Mason-Dixon line, this fell south of that. So it went from Pennsylvania, Greene County, Pennsylvania, to Monongahela County, Virginia. And then when West Virginia became a state, it fell into West Virginia instead of Virginia. And I've done a video on my great-grandmother's cabin, and she was born and raised there, so it'd be my great-great-grandmother's cabin as well. And Sid Jones, my great-grandfather, that was his cabin. He was a school teacher. We're gonna leave here and go over to Coon's Fort. I told him I can't imagine a fort being built there because there's just not enough room. For the size of fort that the history books say, of course those can all be wrong. You know, we did Fort Upper Track, and Fort Upper Track historically was written that it was a bastion fort, square with bastions in the corners. And we discovered it was not a square bastion fort. It was circular. It was circular with a powder magazine in the center of it. And so we got to detect that and help uncover the artifacts from that battle, and no one survived. I believe there were 26 civilians who died in that. And there was a militia there, and the militia all died too. The Coons were K-U-H-N, and unfortunately they call Coon's Fort. It's C-O-O-N, but it's really K-U-H-N. John Johnson.
The Second West Virginia.
Spanish-American War.
Huh? No, that's the war they took. 1776.
All right. All right, you guys, we're at the site of the old Coon's Fort, and believe it or not, Brian and I were on it yesterday, and I guess we just got to dig down through the trash.
Yeah.
But she said it stood right here, and Brian and I were just on the back side of this house, and we're gonna come back and we're gonna explore this a little better.
Paul Anderson lived there.
Paul Anderson. And you said Madeline
Coon was killed here at the little spring It was a spring here.
And your grandfather lived in that house right there.
My grandfather, Edward Chamberlain Fleming, lived in this old home right here on the corner. And when I was growing up, after World War II, we came back from Pennsylvania, and my dad, we bought a little trailer and we lived here on his property until we built our own home. And there was a little spring that came down from the hillside here, and we could put our Crocs and things to keep them cold.
Miss Joanne here is 84 years old and out here doing this with us. I mean,
I'm having a field day.
You're having a field day, so
a tapestry of our lovely ancestors.
That's right. That's why we do this. Because actually, I mean, she's got a collection of stuff. I didn't show it because it's personal and private to her, but when we walked into her house, she had maps and books and genealogy, and I mean, I could have spent an entire month. Yeah, there.
Well,
that's right.
Thank you.
And I told her, I said, I'm gonna have to come back, and we're gonna look up her Fleming family at some point in time, and we're gonna feature them. Well, but I gotta do it soon before you pass away, all right?
I've got to go into, in 1066, I've got to William the Conqueror, and his wife was a Fleming from Flanders.
Fleming from Flanders.
And she gave him 25 Fleming families to fight in 1066. She's
got a map, a really old map. I'll put, I just took a couple pictures of it. I didn't get it all. This is as tall as I am.
Yes.
As big as I am.
Quite large.
And I'll put that in the video. So the spring came out where this is
somewhere
here?
Right here, yeah. You can see the flat rocks. These rocks were around here, and the spring came down there.
There's probably hills pushed out.
They filled it in.
Yeah, they filled it in. Darn it!
Yeah.
It was so beautiful. Oh, it was so beautiful.
People junk up everything around here anymore. Just
Isn't
no
awful?
respect.
Yeah.
Who knows what's in the creek right there?
Yeah.
Or where the old fort stood. In fact, Brian and I, we started detecting right there.
Oh, the bar.
We have attracted a crowd here.
Well, that wasn't there.
And it's great. It's kind of a family reunion because we end up, some of these people we've never met and find out we're related. But and they're giving us stories. They said the fort actually did stand here, and no one believes that it's the kind of fort that is described. So it could have been a round fort. It may not have had bastions in the corner. But this is where it stood, up on this bluff, and they had ample fire right up the valley here. Right down here is where the spring is located that we were just at. And this is where Madeline Coon was shot by the Indians. Brian and I have already detected some of it. We could not find anything associated with this fort. Now, the fort was only here about 4 years, and they only manned it when the Indians were marauding and attacking. So there might not actually be much here. I don't know. We're gonna look. Hey, you guys, we just got here, and the sun's already going down. We spent the entire day with Joanne. This is definitely the site of the fort. And I had a signal, and there's lots of signals in here. The ground is chock full of stuff. Chock full of bad metals too. Now you gotta cart that away. And my first signal is this piece of metal right there. And that is pewter. That is pewter. That is an old metal. That's a good metal. Now we want to find some round balls in here too, and hopefully we'll find something that's, more in detail than that. But that's what that is. That's pewter. We'll pocket that. Keep going. All right, you guys. Brian and I were laughing. The ground is so full. There's signals everywhere. It's crazy. I did have a good signal, pulled it out, and I think it's a coin, and I don't think it's an old coin, but let's take a look. Right there it is. It'd be cool if that were a button. Nope. Nope, that's not what we're looking for. It is... Oh, it's not even old. All right, false alarm. It's going. It could have a great find in it, or it might just be not a great find. But I dug into it. I told Brian, I said, I'm hoping it is a shoe buckle, but it might not be. Nope, it's lead. It's lead, but it's, man, I thought it was going to be a Colonial shoe buckle. But that's an old ring. I just don't know what it's to. All right, Brian is on the board. It is just the back of a pocket watch, and I find these very oftentimes, and you guys have by now seen these in my videos. But, you know, that very easily could have been a Spanish 8 real. It's not. But I told him, I said, you know, that's not a bad find. I mean, it might not be treasurable. And it's not from that time period, by the way. But it's cool. But Brian found a Mercury dime. 1917.
Yeah. Pretty good shape.
But it screamed on that machine, huh?
No.
Yeah, it did.
No, you couldn't even hear. I wouldn't even come worry about it.
Don't worry, I won't be up there. All right, you guys, I found something interesting. I don't know. Was it, did it go on top of a flag, a staff? Or is it junk metal? I can't tell. But it's real heavy. It looks like it's brass. I don't know. All right. Don't know. All right, I popped the plug and pulled this out. And I don't know what this, whoa. I don't know what this is. But it looks old to me. And it looks like a container. And it looks like this is the lid that pops off. All right, let's go into the next hole. All right, I got a good signal here. It's an 86. There's a pile of trash right here. There's actually cans and stuff in here, and that's what this could be. Let's take a look. You know, did they lose coins in that 4 years? Did they lose buckles in that 4 years? What did they lose? That's what we want to find. All right, it's in here. Yeah, it's probably a bullet. Yeah, shallow. It's gonna be trash. There it is. That's a little whiskey bottle. They had that back then, but that's not from that time period. All right, on to the next one. The landowner's brother's here, and he said that there is a really old cemetery up on the hill over here, and it also matches the description of the fort, where the fort stood. And we might mosey over there. We might go take a look at that. I told my cousin I want to go ahead and just comb this really well, make sure that there's, well, I want to roll this out before we roll another place in. But anyway, I got a good signal here. It's a 91 on my detector. That's in the coin range. Let's go take a look.
MineLab Equinox, what you got? Vegas and France, they sent it to him to try it.
Well, it's not a coin. It's round. And I think that's the end of a telephone. What do you think?
That's what it looks like. No telephone.
That is not Revolutionary War. All right, on to the next plug. We got to find something. We're right here above this the fort site. There is a house. There's an old house built in 1869, and it's on the site of an earlier house that was burned during the Civil War. There's an old brick house that stood there that got burned down by the Union troops because it was Confederate sympathizers, and the Confederates all got shot up there, and there's a graveyard up in there somewhere. The farmer told us it was up in there in the weeds. We kind of looked around, we didn't see it, but he said it's up in there. And the foundation of that old house that predates the Civil War is up there. We're going to take a look at that too. If we can't find anything here associated with that fort, we're just going to walk right up there and detect that site right there. All right.